I have got a really exciting resource that I get to share with you today. As most of you know, have watched my channel, I have been working through old dungeon magazines. I did not read these back in the day, and so I have just been enamored with the amount of content that's in here and the amazing content that is in here. If you've followed my channel before or seen this previously, I'm working on the Shackled City Adventure Path and the Savage Tide Adventure Paths, which were level 1 to 20 adventure paths that Paizo, the creators of Pathfinder, actually made, and they released them once a month or once every other month through the old dungeon magazines. Well, I found something really cool. Again, I didn't read these because I didn't have access to them when they first came out, and frankly, I didn't even know it existed back then. But I found something really cool that some of you might remember, so don't judge me. But it was called the Campaign Workbook. So in the back of Dungeon magazines, starting in September of 2005, with Dungeon Magazine 114, they started releasing these campaign workbook articles. So it was just this collection of short articles and just things to aid you in playing. They were about 2 pages each, and the idea was just to cover key D&D concepts that are going to be useful to all dungeon masters. And so they have the different sections that the different articles apply to, and I've already transcribed a handful of these. I've started focusing on the ones that are going to really help my Ptolus campaign the most. So, my channel mostly focuses on Ptolus. I have published this on my d20.pub website because not everything is going to relate to Ptolus, and so that's kind of my generic D&D website versus the Ptolus website. I don't put anything there unless it is specifically for Ptolus that's got a direct application. What I've started off with, there's the different sections. So there's the cast, the city, the dungeon, the journey, critical threat, which is actually specific NPCs, and then wandering monsters. Again, monsters. And so the ones that I've already done these are the articles. They're called Fences and Dealers, which is specifically about selling magic items, maybe selling stolen stuff, things like that. Informants, which again is a thing that I feel like is kind of under focused on, especially in a Ptolus campaign, that in a city campaign, you need informants, you need people that are giving you information. That's kind of the idea behind being able to know stuff before it comes your way, things like that. So there's a great article. Also did Healing for Hire. Again, that's not always applicable to every D&D group, but if you don't have a cleric in your group, in Ptolus, that's one of the best reasons to play in Ptolus, because you don't have to have a cleric. If nobody wants to play a cleric, that's fine. You can pop out of the city and go to any of a dozen churches, even magic item stores where they'll sell wands, potions, the churches, and things like that. But this talks about that, gives you some NPCs. I also did the Abandoned Buildings one, which is from Dungeon Magazine 116, which is cool because the building is abandoned, but that doesn't mean there's nothing inside of it. And so there's some really cool things in there to add some flavor to your Ptolus game. And then the two that really got me excited, they were the first two I did, is Merchant Madness 1 and Merchant Madness 2. Those were in Dungeon Magazine 126 and 139. These focus on plot devices and plot ideas for guilds. A lot of these can directly be applied to Ptolus guilds. For example, there's the Herbalist and Apothecaries Guild. There is the Lamplighters Guild, which are like, how could they have any kind of, a plot? Well, check it out, right? There's the Fishmongers Association, so anybody that sells fish. There's the Textiles, the Purveyors Guild. And then there's some of the others. There's the Cartographers Alliance, the Tailors and Clothers Alliance. And so I won't go through all of these, but it's so exciting and so cool to see these ideas, and reading them just has really got my brain percolating, thinking about what could be done. What are the things that could be used for this? So there are like 120 of these that are all locked in these old bad copies, PDF scans of these dungeon magazines. And so what I'm trying to do is rescue them by transcribing them from those PDFs and putting them onto my website, d20.pub. Totally for free, not asking for anything. I am asking for one thing with your help, though. There's over 100 of these things. There's a bunch of them. The PDF copies are terrible, and so just like the adventure paths that I'm trying to save, trying to get these out of the PDFs and onto web accessible content where you can read it on your phone, read it on a tablet, not have to carry around a bunch of PDFs. Also making them searchable, which is incredibly useful, which the old scans are not at all searchable. I really need some help transcribing these. So there's a couple different ways that you can help me. There's either backing me on Patreon, which this is not, I'm not using a dime of any of that money to go towards vacation or personal stuff. I'm putting all of it back into this channel, all of it back into the websites. And so one of the things I'm going to be doing is paying somebody, a transcription expert, to help me transcribe the content out of those old PDFs and get it into the web accessible content so you guys can find it, read it, and benefit from it, even if you didn't even know Dungeon Magazine existed back in the day, just like I did. So you can back me through Patreon. The other thing is, if you are interested in helping me with this work, please just go to d20.pub. There's a link down below. Click on the contact, fill that out, and let me know, and I can give you some guidance on how to find the stuff, how to pull it out, the fastest ways, things like that. And so that's another thing that you can do to help me. So if you'd like to give a little bit to help me out in terms of the Patreon, again, I'm just going to use that money to pay somebody to help me get this content onto the website. Or if you have a little bit of free time and you would like to help me put these things out there, I'd be more than happy to put a little line down there saying transcribed by or whatever. If you just want to do it out of the goodness of your heart, that's fantastic too. But this information is fantastic, and it has basically been forgotten by the publishers. It's languishing in these PDFs that are free online. So if you want to go download them, you don't have to wait for me. You can go online and download all, I don't know, 160 dungeon magazines if you want to, and find these and read them on the terrible PDF quality. But it's just so frustrating that they've kind of, it seems like, forgotten about this old content. Some of it is system specific in terms of like the NPC stats are in like D&D 3.5. So maybe that's something else we could do in the future. We could upgrade these to D&D 5e or 1D&D or Pathfinder 1 or 2 or whatever. The main point is that almost all of this content is system agnostic. It pretty much doesn't matter what role-playing game or tabletop role-playing game that you're playing, whether it's D&D, Pathfinder, whatever. Most of this, the content that I'm trying to transcribe, is just ideas. It's things to get your brain percolating. It's things to get your ideas going. It's plot devices. It's NPC motivations and stuff like that. So potentially the NPC stats that you'll find on there aren't going to be useful to you. There's a ton of converters online, so it shouldn't be too hard to change that over. If that's something that people really want, let me know, and we can do that. So like I said, the idea is I just want to save this content from languishing in these PDFs, get it where it's mobile friendly, where you can read it on a phone, tablet, computer, whatever, where you can search through it, bookmark it, etc., without having to have hundreds of megabytes of PDFs languishing on your computer that you can't search through and that are honestly pretty crappy scans most of the time. So it makes it a little hard to read on the eyes, especially as you get a little bit older. So if you want to promote me, if you want us to help me accomplish this, back me on Patreon a little bit, or if you want to actually donate your time, I would accept either one of those. Actually, it would be fantastic either way to have this be just a group and community effort to rescue these things from being tossed in this pile and seemingly forgot about, which I just don't understand, because this is amazing stuff. Somebody took the time to write this. All the authors are named on there. I make sure we give everybody credit. And so these people worked really long and hard to come up with these really great ideas and this fantastic information. And I just want to rescue that from archive.org, where it's just sitting out there in PDFs that are hard to find. So hopefully you guys can help me with this. Hopefully you'll benefit from it. Keep an eye on that campaign workbook page. I'll try to make some announcements and stuff as I get several more added and things like that. But until next time, guys, I hope that your games are awesome. I hope that more of your dice come up 20, and most importantly, stay out of the shadow of the Spire.